He had everything: money, power, and walls high enough to keep the world out. But one morning, Gabriel Thorne followed the sound of laughter echoing through his garden, and what he saw shattered everything he believed. Beneath the marble archway, his daughter sat in the dirt beside a homeless boy, learning, laughing, living. Her eyes, so dim for years, sparkled again. And in that single heartbeat, the billionaire realized the one thing he could never buy was the very thing that boy gave her so freely: hope, kindness, and love. The city woke slowly beneath the weight of dawn. Buses coughed to life, vendors dragged carts over cracked sidewalks, and steam curled from manholes like breath from a tired giant. Among it all moved a boy named Aiden Cole, thin, sharp-eyed, wrapped in a coat 2 sizes too large. His hands were red from the cold, chalk dust embedded in the creases of his skin. Every morning, he claimed a small patch of pavement behind St. Helena's Park, where a broken stone bench served as his classroom. Children from the nearby tenements gathered around him, their shoes torn, their notebooks wrinkled. Aiden taught them multiplication, history, words from storybooks he'd salvaged from dumpsters. He didn't charge. He didn't ask for food. He only asked that they listen. "Knowledge is armor," he'd say with a half-smile. "Once you have it, nobody can take it from you." Today, the wind was sharp, carrying the scent of rain and roasted peanuts from the market. Aiden crouched low, drawing numbers in chalk on the sidewalk. "So if you have 3 apples and I give you 2. "You'd never have apples," a little boy teased, grinning. Aiden laughed softly. "Fair point. Then let's make it dreams instead." For a few fleeting hours each morning, his world made sense. The moment the sun climbed higher, he'd pack up his scraps of paper, his worn-out chalk, and the faint hope that someday he'd earn a real life again. Across the city, high above the noise and struggle, Gabriel Thorne adjusted his cufflinks in front of a mirror framed with gold. The penthouse was immaculate: glass, marble, silence. He checked his watch, though he had nowhere personal to be. His schedule revolved around meetings, numbers, mergers. He hadn't taken a day off since his wife, Isabel, died 5 years ago. Grief had turned into routine, and routine into armor. In the corner of the vast breakfast hall sat his 10-year-old daughter Lily, stirring her cereal until it turned gray. She had her mother's eyes, gentle, curious, but lately they seemed dim, shadowed by loneliness. "Eat," Gabriel murmured, eyes still on his tablet. "I'm not hungry," she whispered. He didn't look up. "You have school in an hour." Lily's gaze flicked toward the window, where sunlight fell on the garden below. "Can I go outside first?" "Lily," he sighed, lowering the tablet for once. "You can go after breakfast." She nodded but didn't move. Inside, something wilted further, the space between them widening, though they sat barely 10 feet apart. That afternoon, while Gabriel was lost in conference calls, Lily slipped past the nanny, barefoot on the marble floors, out through the back terrace to the garden that stretched for acres. It was wild at the edges, where vines tangled around the old stone archway her mother used to love. Lily often went there to talk to herself or to the birds. It was the only place she could breathe. But today, someone else was there. A boy sat on the ground, head bent, sketching something in the dirt with a piece of chalk. Lily froze, half curious, half afraid. He looked up first. "Oh, hi," Aiden said quickly, rising to his feet. "Sorry, I didn't know anyone came out here." "You're on my dad's property," Lily blurted, clutching the post of the archway. "I didn't mean to trespass," he said gently. "I was just drawing." She glanced down and saw neat little shapes, circles, lines, numbers, forming a small equation. "You're doing math?" Aiden smiled, trying to remember some old lessons. "Do you like math?" Lily made a face. "No. I always get it wrong." He knelt again, writing another number. "Then you just need a new teacher." Her brow furrowed. "You're a teacher?" He shrugged. "Maybe. Someday." Something about his tone, not sad, just honest, made her step closer. "Show me," she said quietly. Aiden hesitated. "Your dad might not like that." "My dad doesn't notice much," she murmured. For the next 20 minutes, the garden filled with laughter. Aiden used sticks and leaves as symbols, turning fractions into puzzles, numbers into games. Lily's eyes brightened with every right answer, her voice lifting in joy. He hadn't heard laughter like that in a long time, Not since before the night his life shattered. Meanwhile, Gabriel sat in his office, distracted by something strange. Through the half-open window drifted the faint sound of laughter. Familiar. Distant. Impossible. He stood, following it through the corridor, past the glass hall, out toward the garden. Each step felt heavier. He hadn't heard his daughter laugh like that since Isabel died. Then he saw them. Under the marble archway, sunlight spilling across their faces, his daughter and a ragged boy, chalk in hand, smiling. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. It looked like a painting, innocence and joy in perfect stillness. Then reality struck like a blade. What is going on here? His voice cut through the air. Lily jumped, chalk flying from her hands. Aiden rose instantly, shoulders squared. I was just, Lily stammered. Gabriel's eyes burned into the boy. Who are you? How did you get in here? I didn't mean any harm, sir, Aiden said calmly. She was curious. I was just helping her. Helping her. Gabriel's tone hardened. You're trespassing on private property. You could have been dangerous. Aiden nodded slowly. Maybe. But I wasn't. Something in his stillness, the quiet steadiness of someone used to being doubted, unsettled Gabriel. But pride took over before compassion could speak. Leave. Now, he ordered. Aiden glanced at Lily, who looked ready to cry, then met Gabriel's eyes one last time. You have a good daughter, he said softly. Don't make her afraid to smile. He turned and walked away, fading into the garden shadows as Lily's small voice broke the silence. Daddy, why are you always angry when I'm happy? Gabriel froze. The words hit harder than any business failure, any loss. He wanted to answer, but nothing came. Instead, he looked down at the chalk marks on the ground, a simple equation, unfinished. That night, as rain brushed against the windows, Gabriel sat alone in his study. His reflection in the glass looked like a stranger. On his desk lay the chalk Lily had carried back inside, a fragment of white, small enough to fit between two fingers, yet heavy enough to stir something he'd buried long ago. For the first time in years, Gabriel wondered if maybe, just maybe, he'd forgotten what it meant to truly live. If you were Gabriel, would you have chased the boy away, or listened first? Tell me what your heart says in the comments below. Night swallowed the Thorne estate in silence, broken only by the steady rhythm of rain. Gabriel sat at his desk, pretending to work, but the numbers on the screen blurred until they became meaningless lines. That image from earlier, the boy's steady eyes, Lily's laughter, kept replaying like an echo he couldn't silence. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the chalk fragment still lying where he'd left it. His hand hovered over it, then drew back. Ridiculous, he muttered, almost angrily, as though speaking could drown the feeling crawling beneath his ribs. When had he last seen his daughter smile like that? When Isabel was alive, maybe. Back when the house had warmth instead of perfection. Now, perfection was all he had left. He rose suddenly and walked to the security room. The guard on duty, startled, straightened. Sir. Pull up footage from the South Garden, this afternoon. The archway. The man hesitated but complied. On the screen, grainy footage came to life. Lily sitting in the dirt, the boy crouched beside her, drawing numbers, laughing. Gabriel didn't breathe. He watched as the boy explained something, his gestures gentle but confident. Lily clapped her hands, smiling so wide her cheeks flushed. The boy handed her a stick of chalk like it was a gift. She bowed slightly, then hugged him. Gabriel's throat tightened unexpectedly. He fast-forwarded to the part where he appeared, the sudden intrusion, his own voice harsh through the speakers. Watching it now, he flinched. He looked like every man he swore he'd never become, cold, detached, afraid of softness. The boy didn't flinch from him. That calm defiance, no arrogance, no fear, just quiet strength. He turned off the screen. That's enough. But sleep didn't come easy that night. The next morning, Lily was quiet at breakfast. She kept tracing invisible shapes on the table, eyes distant. Gabriel tried to focus on his coffee, pretending not to notice. Lily, finish eating. I'm not hungry. He sighed. You said that yesterday. Silence. Then softly. Why did you yell at him, Daddy? Gabriel froze. because he shouldn't have been here. But he was kind. She looked up, eyes shimmering. He wasn't scary. He helped me understand fractions. You said I should try harder in school, and he was just trying to help. Gabriel set his cup down too fast. The china clinked sharply. Lily, that boy, he's not like us. Her small brow furrowed. What does that mean? He opened his mouth, then closed it. How could he explain? That the world wasn't fair? That people who had nothing sometimes wanted everything you had? That kindness could be dangerous? He shouldn't have been here, he said again, weaker this time. Lily's voice came barely above a whisper. He made me laugh. Those 4 words lingered long after she left for school. Across town, Aiden sat under a bridge, sketching on the damp concrete with what little chalk he had left. His small backpack leaned against the wall. Inside it, a torn book, an apple, and a photo of his parents from years ago. He wasn't angry about what happened. Not really. He'd learned long ago that people with money looked at him like a warning sign. But the girl. Lily had looked at him like a person. He closed his eyes, remembering her laughter, her curiosity, her innocence. For a brief moment, he'd forgotten what it meant to be unwanted. Now the memory only hurt. A soft voice pulled him out of thought. You're still here. He turned. It was Mara, a volunteer from the local shelter. She offered him a small sandwich. Figured you might need this. Thanks, he said quietly, accepting it. You okay? Aiden nodded. Just, met someone I shouldn't have. Mara smiled faintly. Sometimes those are the people who change you the most. Back at the Thorne mansion, Gabriel tried to bury himself in work again. The day passed in a blur of meetings, signatures, phone calls. But his mind kept slipping. Every time his pen touched paper, he saw chalk dust instead. By evening, he gave up the pretense. He wandered down the hall to Lily's room, peeking in. She was drawing on her whiteboard, quietly humming. What are you working on? He asked softly. She didn't look up. Math. His chest tightened. I see. Don't be mad, Daddy, she said suddenly, her voice trembling a little. He didn't mean to make you angry. He just wanted to help me. Gabriel knelt beside her. Lily, I'm not angry at you. Then why did you look like that? He blinked. Like what? Like you saw a ghost. He exhaled slowly. Maybe I did. Lily tilted her head. Do you think he's bad? He hesitated, then shook his head. No. I just don't understand him yet. That night, he went back to his office again. He turned the security footage on one last time, not to judge this time, but to listen. The boy's voice came softly through the speakers. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying again, even when you think you can't. Gabriel's throat tightened. The line hit too close to home. It sounded like something Isabel would have said. He sat there for a long time, the rain whispering against the glass, the house finally feeling less like protection and more like a cage. When he finally spoke, it was only to the empty room. Who are you, Aiden Cole? The next day, he asked his security chief to find out who the boy was. Quietly, he added. The report came back that evening. Age, 17. No criminal record. Dropped out after losing both parents in an accident. Currently homeless. Gabriel read it twice, then set it down. His chest felt strangely heavy. He had expected danger, deceit, something to confirm his fear. Instead, he found a mirror of the same brokenness he carried himself. He walked to the window, looking out over the sprawling garden where it had all begun. Lily's laughter still seemed to echo faintly in the air. For the first time in years, he whispered a prayer, awkward, halting, half-believed. If I'm supposed to learn something from this, don't let me miss it. And far away, under the same silver moon, Aiden stared up from his corner of the city and whispered his own. Please, let me matter again. Do you believe people enter our lives by accident, or for a reason we don't see yet? Share your thoughts below. The following week blurred into gray. Gabriel buried himself in board meetings, pretending to listen while his thoughts drifted to chalk marks and unspoken words. Every night, he told himself to forget the boy. Every morning, he found himself glancing toward the garden, half expecting to see him there again. Lily had grown quieter. She did her schoolwork, nodded when spoken to, but her laughter, the sound that had startled him awake, was gone again. The house felt colder for it. He noticed her sitting by the window one evening, holding the same piece of chalk between her fingers. "Why do you still have that?" he asked gently. She shrugged. "It reminds me of when I got something right." Gabriel's throat tightened. "You get things right all the time, Lily." "Not the way he made me feel," she murmured. He wanted to argue, to reason it away, but her words pierced through his polished logic. There was nothing to say. That night, after she'd fallen asleep, he stood at her door for a long time. The house was too quiet. He felt like an intruder in his own life. Across the city, Aiden was losing his shelter. The building owner had sold the old church basement where he and others slept. He gathered his few belongings, a notebook, a worn photo of his parents, the chalk, and left without complaint. He found a spot beneath an overpass, wrapping himself in his coat. His stomach ached, but what hurt worse was how he couldn't stop thinking of Lily's face, the way her laughter had lit up the garden. He whispered to himself, "You don't belong there, Aiden." But some part of him didn't believe it. The next morning, Lily's nanny, Ms. Briggs, found Gabriel at the breakfast table earlier than usual. "Sir, your daughter seems distracted," she said cautiously. She mentioned the boy again. Gabriel looked up from his tablet. "She did. She asked if we could invite him for lunch." He froze. "Absolutely not." Ms. Briggs hesitated. "Forgive me, sir, but she's been happier since that day. Children need connection." If you're ready to hear the full story, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Tomorrow, I'll be dropping another story just as wild as this one, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Now, let's dive right in. "Not with strangers off the street," Gabriel said sharply, then regretted the tone immediately. "I'll handle it." After she left, he stared at the untouched breakfast in front of him. Every word he just said sounded like something his own father would have said: cold, fearful, controlling. The realization stung. Lily snuck away that afternoon. She took a small paper bag from the kitchen, an apple, a sandwich, and a cookie, and slipped through the back gate of the estate. Her small figure darted through the hedge-lined path toward the park beyond the stone wall. She found Aiden sitting on a bench near the edge of the river, his clothes damp, his head lowered. "You came back," she said softly. He looked up in surprise. "Lily? What are you doing here?" "I brought you lunch." She held out the paper bag with both hands, proud and shy. Aiden smiled faintly. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," she said. "Daddy says people need to earn things. But you already did." Aiden hesitated, then took the bag. "You shouldn't be here. If your dad finds out." "He won't," she said quickly, then lowered her voice. "He doesn't notice much lately." He studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "He notices more than you think. Sometimes people see too much and forget how to feel it." She tilted her head. "That sounds sad." "Yeah," Aiden murmured. "It is." Back at the mansion, Gabriel's assistant burst into his office. "Sir, security spotted your daughter outside the property line." "What?" "She went toward the park, sir." Gabriel didn't wait. He grabbed his coat and drove himself. The city blurred past in streaks of silver and gray. He found them near the river, just as the sky began to drizzle. Lily sat on the bench beside the boy again, their heads close together. For a moment, the sight softened him. But fear disguised itself as fury once more. "Lily!" His voice thundered across the park. "Get away from him." She flinched. Aiden stood quickly, shielding her instinctively. "She's fine, sir." "I told you to stay away from my daughter," Gabriel said, striding closer. "You had no right to." "She came to me," Aiden interrupted quietly. "I didn't go looking for her." "That doesn't matter." "It matters to her," Aiden said, his voice steady despite the rain. "She needed someone to listen. I just happened to be there." Gabriel's jaw clenched. "You think you know my daughter better than I do?" Aiden looked him straight in the eye. "I think she's lonely." The words hit like lightning. Gabriel froze. For a heartbeat, everything inside him crumbled, the walls, the excuses, the armor. Lily's small voice cut through the silence. He's not bad, Daddy. He listens. Rain trickled down Gabriel's face, mixing with something he refused to call tears. He didn't know what to say, so he did what he always did when emotion cornered him. He turned away. Get in the car, Lily. She obeyed quietly, her shoulders trembling. When Gabriel looked back, the boy hadn't moved. He just stood there, rain soaking through his thin clothes, eyes calm and sad. I didn't mean to take anything from you, sir, Aiden said. But maybe she needed something you forgot how to give. Gabriel said nothing. He couldn't. He left without another word. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Gabriel sat alone again in his office. He couldn't shake the image, the boy's steady gaze, his daughter's tears, his own reflection in the car window looking like a stranger. He opened his laptop, trying to drown it in work again, but the spreadsheet blurred until it disappeared beneath the weight of guilt. He finally whispered into the silence. Maybe I am the one who's lost. Across town, under the overpass, Aiden coughed violently, his body shivering from the rain. He clutched the photo of his parents to his chest, whispering, I'm trying, Mom. I'm trying. His voice broke into the dark, unheard by anyone, except the faint echo of thunder rolling through the sky. When pride and love collide, which one do you choose first? Share your answer in the comments. It might help someone reading this find theirs. The storm that night was relentless. Rain hammered the city, flooding gutters and swallowing streetlights in sheets of silver. Beneath the overpass, Aiden shivered violently, soaked to the bone. His coat, already threadbare, clung to him like wet paper. He tried to stay awake, to keep the nightmares of hunger and loss from pulling him under, but exhaustion won. By morning, he lay motionless, half-conscious, his fingers curled around the faded photo of his parents. At the Thorne estate, Gabriel's morning began with an unusual phone call. Sir, his head of security said hesitantly, we found someone collapsed near the company's loading dock downtown. One of our trucks almost hit him. Gabriel frowned. And you're calling me because... The man hesitated. Because it's the same boy, sir. The one from the garden. For a moment, Gabriel said nothing. He gripped the edge of his desk. Is he alive? Barely. Paramedics say he's got a fever. Malnourished. Gabriel exhaled, his mind spinning. He could easily tell himself this wasn't his problem. The boy had trespassed, challenged him, disrupted his peace. He could let the system take care of him. But Lily's voice echoed in his head. He made me laugh. He swallowed hard. Bring him here. Sir. Here, Gabriel repeated. To the house. I'll handle the rest. When the car arrived an hour later, Lily was the first to spot it through the window. She ran to the door before anyone could stop her. Daddy, is that? Yes, Gabriel said quietly. He's not well. They carried Aiden inside, limp and pale. Lily clutched her father's sleeve, wide-eyed. Is he going to die? No, Gabriel said, though he wasn't sure. Not if I can help it. They laid Aiden on a guest room bed, a place once reserved for important guests, foreign investors, CEOs, politicians. Never someone like him. Gabriel stood by the doorway, unsure why his heart felt like it was breaking. Hours passed. The storm subsided, replaced by the faint hum of life returning to the city. When Aiden finally stirred, his throat dry, he saw a blur of white ceilings and soft light. Where am I? He murmured. You're safe, came a small voice. He turned. Lily sat by the bed, holding a tray with soup and bread. Did I die? He croaked weakly. She smiled a little. Not yet. Aiden blinked, confused. Your dad. He brought you here, she said simply. He was worried. That didn't sound right. The last thing he remembered was Gabriel's glare, the accusation, the command to leave. Still, the warmth of the soup and the comfort of the blanket made him realize how long it had been since anyone cared if he lived or not. Tell him I'll go when I'm better, Aiden whispered. Lily shook her head. He said you can stay until you're strong again. Aiden stared at her, trying to read the truth in her eyes. Why would he do that? She tilted her head. Maybe because you made me smile. Later that evening, Gabriel stood outside the guest room door, listening to faint murmurs of conversation. Lily's laugh again, soft, careful but real. He exhaled, stepping inside quietly. Aiden turned toward him, startled, then sat up slowly. Gabriel gestured to the food tray. "She insists on feeding anyone who moves," he said awkwardly. Lily giggled. "That's what Mommy used to say." The air shifted, soft, heavy. Aiden glanced at Gabriel. "Thank you. For this." Gabriel nodded stiffly. "You should rest. The doctor said you'll need a few days." "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," Lily said quickly. Gabriel's jaw tightened. "We'll see." For a few seconds, no one spoke. Only the quiet hum of rain outside filled the silence. Finally, Aiden said softly, "You didn't have to help me." Gabriel's eyes met his. "I didn't. But I couldn't not." It was the closest he'd come to an apology. Over the next few days, tension and awkwardness became routine. Aiden tried to stay out of sight, always polite, always ready to leave. Gabriel, on the other hand, struggled between suspicion and admiration. He watched the boy through cautious eyes, how he thanked the staff, how he fixed the old piano key that had been broken for years, how he smiled whenever Lily entered the room. He was not what Gabriel had expected. One evening, Gabriel found Aiden in the music room, repairing the piano with gentle patience. "How did you learn to do that?" Gabriel asked. Aiden didn't look up. "My mom used to play. I fixed things for her when we couldn't afford repairs." "Your parents?" "Gone," Aiden said quietly. "A long time ago." Silence. Then Gabriel spoke, voice low. "Mine too." Aiden's hands stilled. "So you know what it's like." Gabriel gave a small, bitter laugh. "No. I buried mine under business meetings and contracts." Aiden turned then, studying him. "Does that help?" "No," Gabriel admitted. "But it keeps you from feeling." "Until something breaks through," Aiden said softly. "Like your daughter." Gabriel didn't respond. But something in his chest twisted. Later that night, Lily asked her father a question that lingered long after she'd fallen asleep. "Daddy, do you think people can become family even if they're not related?" He hesitated, then kissed her forehead. "Sometimes, those are the ones who save us." He left her room and paused outside the guest room door again. Through the crack, he saw Aiden asleep, the photograph of his parents clutched in his hand. Something inside Gabriel shifted, quiet, unspoken. The walls he'd spent years building were starting to feel like prison bars. The next morning, he found himself pouring a second cup of coffee and setting it across from his own. When Aiden appeared, surprised but grateful, Gabriel simply nodded to the seat. "Eat," he said. "Thank you, sir." And for the first time, they shared breakfast in silence, not as enemies, but as two broken men who had both forgotten what kindness felt like. The week that followed brought a strange rhythm to the Thorne mansion. Mornings filled with quiet breakfasts, afternoons with Lily's laughter echoing through the halls, and evenings heavy with unspoken questions. Aiden's health improved, but something about him remained fragile, like a boy holding together the ruins of something precious. Gabriel noticed. He watched the way Aiden stared at the piano when no one was around, the way his smile never reached his eyes. And though Gabriel told himself not to care, he found himself wanting to understand. One late afternoon, as rain began to mist the gardens, Gabriel found Aiden in the library, reading one of the few books that had dust on it, Les Miserables. "You like Hugo?" Gabriel asked from the doorway. Aiden glanced up, startled. "Yeah. My mom used to read it to me when I was little. Said it was about grace and forgiveness." Gabriel stepped closer. "Forgiveness, that's a rare luxury." Aiden smiled faintly. "Depends on who's giving it." There was a pause. The fire crackled softly behind them. "Can I ask you something?" Gabriel said finally. Aiden nodded. "How does someone your age end up on the street?" The question hung there, raw but not cruel. Aiden's gaze dropped to the book. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, quietly, "My parents ran a small cafe in the South Side. We weren't rich, but it was home. When my dad got sick, my mom worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I used to help her after school, serve coffee, wipe tables. She'd sing sometimes while closing up. He smiled faintly, lost in memory. One night, she didn't come home. Car crash. Same day Dad's heart gave out in the hospital. Gabriel's chest tightened. How old were you? 13. Silence again, thick, suffocating. I bounced around foster homes, Aiden continued, his voice steadier now. Some were fine. Most weren't. I tried to keep studying, but, when you don't have a permanent address, schools stop calling. Gabriel felt something twist inside him. And you never went back. Aiden shook his head. I tried. But surviving became easier than hoping. He closed the book slowly. Until I met your daughter. She reminded me what hope looked like. Gabriel swallowed hard, words stuck in his throat. 4 years, he'd measured worth by wealth, discipline, control, but the quiet strength in this boy made all of that seem hollow. That night, Gabriel found himself standing by his late wife's piano. The same piano Aiden had repaired. He touched one of the keys lightly. The note rang clear and true. He remembered Isabel's voice, warm, teasing, "You can't fix pain with money, Gabe. Only with love." He had laughed at her back then, thought she was being poetic. But now, the echo of her words pressed against his chest like a wound reopening. Meanwhile, upstairs, Lily was showing Aiden her art. "This is Mommy," she said, pointing to a watercolor painting. "She used to sing me to sleep." "She looks kind," Aiden said softly. She was. Daddy stopped talking about her after she went to heaven. Aiden hesitated. Maybe it hurts him too much. Lily frowned. "But I think not talking hurts more." Aiden looked at her, surprised by the depth in her small voice. "You're probably right." She grinned proudly. "I usually am." He laughed for the first time in days, an unguarded real sound that warmed the entire room. Later that evening, Gabriel joined them in the living room. Lily was half asleep on the couch, her head resting against Aiden's arm as he quietly told her a story. And then the prince realized the treasure he was chasing wasn't gold, but the laughter of the people he'd forgotten to love. Gabriel froze. The words pierced something inside him. When Aiden looked up and saw him, he straightened immediately. "Sorry, sir." She fell asleep. Gabriel waved it off. "You have a way with words." "Stories kept me alive," Aiden said. "They make pain make sense." If you're ready to hear the full story, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Tomorrow, I'll be dropping another story just as wild as this one, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Now, let's dive right in. Gabriel nodded slowly. Maybe I should have read more of them. He looked down at his daughter, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. And for the first time, Gabriel didn't feel like a stranger in his own home. The next morning, Gabriel found himself in his office, staring at an old photograph of Isabel and Lily. He picked up his phone, hesitating, then made a call. "Mr. Rowan," he said when his assistant answered, "set up a scholarship fund. Anonymous. For homeless youth who want to finish school." "Under what name, sir?" Gabriel looked out the window, the sun breaking through the rain clouds. "Call it the Isabel Foundation." He hung up before the man could reply. But peace rarely comes without interruption. That afternoon, a news notification flashed on Gabriel's screen. Billionaire Thorne takes in homeless teen, rumors of scandal surface. His jaw tightened. He clicked the article. Someone had taken photos, grainy, invasive, of Aiden arriving at the mansion, Lily by his side. The comments section burned with cruelty. "He's using that boy for PR. Bet the kid's a scammer. Rich man's guilt project." Gabriel's stomach twisted. He didn't care about public image, but he cared that it could hurt Lily or Aiden. He called for his PR manager immediately. "I want this shut down." "Sir, it's spreading fast. People love a controversy." "Then give them a story they can't twist," he snapped. That evening, he found Aiden sitting by the piano again, clearly having seen the article too. "I'm sorry," Aiden said quietly. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." "This isn't your fault," Gabriel said firmly. "People will always talk." "I can leave," Aiden said, standing. "You've done enough." Gabriel stepped forward. "You're not leaving." Aiden blinked. Why? Gabriel hesitated, then spoke the truth for once. Because my daughter needs you. And maybe I do too. The silence that followed was heavy but healing. Aiden nodded slowly. Then let me earn my place here. Gabriel's lips curved slightly. You already have. That night, for the first time since Isabel's death, Gabriel sat at the piano. He began to play, a halting, clumsy melody, but Aiden joined in softly, filling in the gaps with chords. Lily, woken by the faint music, peeked from the stairs and whispered with a sleepy smile. They sound like family. And maybe, just maybe, they were becoming one. The scandal faded faster than Gabriel expected. A few quiet donations to the press and a well-timed charity interview turned public outrage into admiration. By the end of the week, headlines had shifted. Billionaire funds shelter education program. Real change or redemption? Gabriel didn't care about redemption in the public eye anymore. What mattered was the one happening quietly inside his home. Mornings no longer began in silence. Now they began with Lily's voice calling down the hall, "Daddy." Aiden burned the toast again. "I did not." Aiden shouted back from the kitchen, waving a smoking piece of bread with mock offense. "It's called crispy perfection." Lily giggled, spinning around in her socks. "Daddy says that's what people say when they mess up breakfast." Gabriel appeared in the doorway, coffee in hand, suppressing a smile. "She's not wrong." Aiden shrugged. "Guess I'll stick to math lessons, then." Their laughter filled the kitchen, the same kitchen that once echoed with loneliness. In the following days, Aiden started teaching Lily after school again, this time with Gabriel's permission. They spread notebooks across the dining table, laughing through mistakes and scribbles. Gabriel would sometimes sit across from them, pretending to work, but really just listening. Aiden's patience amazed him. He never raised his voice, never made Lily feel small. When she got a problem wrong, he'd grin and say, "Perfect. Now we know what not to do next time." Gabriel realized how different that was from his own approach, how many times he'd mistaken perfection for love. One afternoon, Gabriel interrupted them mid-lesson. "Lily, go wash up for dinner." When she left, Aiden looked up, wary. "Did I do something wrong?" Gabriel shook his head. "No. I just wanted to say thank you." Aiden frowned slightly. "For what?" "For giving her back her laughter." Aiden's eyes softened. "She gave me something too. A reason to try again." Gabriel nodded, emotion tight in his throat. "Maybe we're both learning how to start over." That night, Lily insisted they all eat together in the small sunroom instead of the formal dining hall. "It feels less lonely here," she said matter-of-factly, dragging chairs into place. Gabriel raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. The three of them sat together as the golden light of sunset filtered through the glass. Halfway through dinner, Lily asked, "Daddy, what was Mommy like when you met her?" Gabriel paused, fork halfway to his lips. It had been years since he'd spoken Isabel's name out loud. "She was fearless," he said slowly. "She'd talk to anyone, make friends with strangers. She said people were stories waiting to be read." Aiden smiled faintly. "Sounds like Lily got that from her." Gabriel chuckled softly. "She did." For the first time, talking about Isabel didn't ache, it felt like remembering sunlight. As weeks passed, a quiet rhythm took root. Aiden began helping around the estate, not out of duty, but because he wanted to. He fixed squeaky doors, helped the gardener, even repaired the broken swing Lily's mother once built. One afternoon, Gabriel found him there, testing the ropes. "You did this?" Gabriel asked. Aiden nodded, a little shyly. "Lily told me her mom made it for her. I thought she'd like it working again." Gabriel looked at the newly fixed swing, sunlight glinting off the ropes. "She would have loved that." He hesitated, then added softly, "So would Isabel." The name hung gently in the air, like a blessing. Aiden met his eyes. "You really loved her." "With everything I had," Gabriel said quietly. "When she died, I thought the world ended. I just forgot to tell my daughter it didn't." Aiden swallowed hard. Maybe now she knows. That evening, the three of them sat outside as the first stars appeared. Lily leaned against her father's shoulder, Aiden beside her, humming softly. The night smelled of rain and grass and peace. Gabriel spoke after a long silence. You remind me of myself, you know. Aiden looked up, surprised. I doubt that. You're stubborn, Gabriel said with a faint smile. Too proud to ask for help. Always carrying the weight alone. That used to be me. Aiden laughed softly. Used to be. Gabriel's eyes twinkled. I'm learning. Then, after a pause, you're good for her, Aiden. But you're also good for me. Aiden looked away, his voice low. No one's ever said that before. Well, Gabriel said, glancing at the stars, then they weren't paying attention. As days turned into weeks, the Thorne mansion, once silent and sterile, became a home again. The staff smiled more. Music played again from the piano room. And Lily's drawings began filling the walls, stick figures of 3 people, one tall, one with messy hair, one with pigtails, standing under a big heart. One evening, Gabriel found Aiden standing by those drawings, staring quietly. She sees you as family, Gabriel said softly. Aiden smiled faintly. I don't know if I deserve that. Deserve has nothing to do with it, Gabriel said. Sometimes love just finds you. Aiden's eyes shimmered. You really believe that? Gabriel nodded. I'm starting to. Later that night, as Aiden was heading to his room, Gabriel stopped him at the hallway. I've been thinking, Gabriel said, hesitating. You're turning 18 soon, right? Yes, sir. I could help you finish school. Maybe even college, if you'd want that. Aiden blinked, stunned. You'd do that for me? You've done more for us than you realize, Gabriel said. Let me do something for you. Aiden's voice broke. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Gabriel said simply. And for the first time, Aiden did. That night, as Gabriel passed by Lily's room, he heard her whisper in her sleep. Thank you, Mommy. You sent him, didn't you? He stood there, frozen in the doorway, tears silently tracing his face. And somewhere deep inside, he felt Isabel's presence again, soft, proud, at peace. The house was quieter again. Not empty, just different. Something subtle had shifted. Maybe it was how Gabriel's company had started drawing attention for its new charity programs. Maybe it was how reporters still hovered around, hungry for another story. Or maybe it was the tension Gabriel couldn't name, the way Aiden had started pulling away. It began small. Missed breakfasts. Fewer smiles. Aiden spent more time outside, helping the groundskeeper, or disappearing into the city with vague explanations. When Gabriel asked, Aiden always replied, just running errands. But there was something in his eyes Gabriel recognized, distance. The kind he used to see in the mirror. Lily noticed first. Daddy, Aiden's sad, she said one night, as they washed dishes together. He smiles, but it's pretend. Gabriel tried to shrug it off. He's just tired. But he knew better. The truth arrived 3 days later. Gabriel's assistant stormed into his office holding a thin envelope. Sir, you should see this. Inside were photographs, grainy, tabloid quality. Aiden, standing near an alley downtown, handing an envelope to a stranger. Money. The headline that followed only made it worse. Thorne's charity front or fraud. Homeless teen seen exchanging cash. Gabriel's chest went cold. He couldn't breathe for a second. The article implied Aiden had been using the Thorne family's name for his own benefit, taking donations meant for the foundation and giving them away. Gabriel wanted to deny it, but anger, old familiar anger, rose faster than reason. When Aiden came home that evening, tired and rain-soaked, Gabriel was waiting in the foyer. The look in his eyes was something Lily had never seen before, betrayal laced with heartbreak. Where were you? Gabriel asked quietly. Aiden hesitated. Out. Why? Don't lie to me. I'm not. Gabriel threw the envelope onto the table. The photos spilled out like accusations. Then explain this. Aiden froze. You followed me? I protected my family, Gabriel snapped. You think I'd let someone I barely know handle my daughter, live under my roof, and what, run side hustles in my name? Aiden's face went pale. It's not what it looks like. Then what is it? I was helping someone, Aiden said quickly. A friend from the shelter. She's sick, and the hospital. Gabriel cut him off. You used my money? Aiden's voice broke. No. It was the allowance you gave me, for clothes. I didn't need it, she did. Gabriel shook his head, voice low and sharp. You should have told me. You wouldn't have understood, Aiden said bitterly. Something inside Gabriel snapped. Don't presume to know me, boy. I gave you a home, a second chance, and this is how you repay me. Aiden's jaw tightened. I never asked for your charity. I just wanted to belong. You already did, Gabriel said harshly. Until now. The silence that followed was thunderous. Aiden's shoulders slumped. I'll leave. Lily's small voice cut through the air like glass. No. They turned. She stood at the top of the stairs, tears streaming down her cheeks. You can't make him go. Lily. You said family means helping people. That's what he did. Gabriel took a step toward her, but she backed away, sobbing. You're lying. You always say love means being kind, but you only know how to be scared. Her words hit harder than any accusation. Gabriel froze, his chest aching. Aiden looked at him one last time, voice trembling. She's right, you know. You're not angry at me, you're angry because you care. Then he turned and walked out into the rain. Gabriel didn't stop him. Couldn't. He just stood there motionless, as the door closed and silence filled the house once again. That night, Lily refused to eat. She locked herself in her room, crying softly until she fell asleep. Gabriel sat in the dark living room, staring at the photo of Isabel on the piano. You'd hate what I've become, he whispered. You'd tell me to go after him. The house seemed to echo in response, the way it always did when he knew she'd be right. But pride, his oldest ghost, still chained him down. Across the city, Aiden found himself back where he'd started, under the same overpass, clutching the same worn photograph. The rain soaked through his clothes, but he didn't care. The ache inside was worse than the cold. He whispered into the night, I thought I finally found home. Morning came pale and cruel. Gabriel woke from the couch, exhausted, haunted by Lily's voice from the night before. He wandered into her room, found her asleep clutching one of Aiden's notebooks. On the first page were Lily's messy handwriting and a drawing of the three of them under a heart. And beneath it, Aiden's handwriting. If you're ready to hear the full story, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Tomorrow, I'll be dropping another story just as wild as this one, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Now, let's dive right in. Home isn't a place. It's a person who lets you stay when you've got nowhere else to go. Gabriel sank into her desk chair, the words hitting harder than any boardroom loss. He thought of Isabel again, her voice soft and certain. You'll know real love when it asks you to give up your pride. For the first time in years, Gabriel broke. Silent tears fell freely down his face. By noon, he had made his choice. He told Ms. Briggs to watch Lily and grabbed his coat. He didn't know exactly where to find Aiden, but his heart did. And as he drove into the rain-soaked streets, the only words in his mind were the ones he should have said long ago. Please come home. Sometimes love doesn't vanish. It hides behind pride until pain forces it out. Have you ever pushed someone away just to realize they were the one who made you whole? The rain hadn't stopped since the night Aiden left. It poured like grief itself, relentless, cold, and cleansing. Gabriel drove through the city streets, past the steel towers that bore his name, past the very empire he had built to protect himself from feeling small. But tonight, he didn't feel powerful. He felt like a man who had lost the only two people who still made him human. He started where it all began, the park by the old fountain, where Lily had met Aiden for the first time. The benches were empty, save for a few soaked pigeons. Then the shelters, 2, 3, 4 of them. Each time he asked, have you seen him? A boy, 17, brown hair, quiet but kind. Most shook their heads. One woman paused and said softly, if you're looking for that kid who used to teach the little ones, try the church by Elm Street. He used to go there sometimes to warm up. Gabriel thanked her and drove off. By the time he reached the church, the rain had turned to mist. The old wooden doors creaked as he pushed them open. The smell of candle wax and damp stone filled the air. At the far end of the pews, Gabriel saw him, curled up near the altar, a thin blanket around his shoulders, a worn Bible under his head. Aiden stirred at the sound of footsteps, blinking awake. When he saw Gabriel, he froze. "What are you doing here?" His voice was hoarse, guarded. Gabriel took a slow step closer. "Looking for you." "You found me," Aiden said flatly. "Now what?" Gabriel hesitated, then sat on the pew across from him. "I owe you an apology." Aiden looked away. "You don't owe me anything." "Yes, I do," Gabriel said quietly. "I judged you the same way the world judged me when I was your age. I saw a risk when I should have seen a boy trying to help someone." Aiden's throat tightened. "I didn't steal anything." "I know," Gabriel said softly. "I believe you now. I just didn't believe in myself enough to trust you." Aiden gave a small, bitter laugh. "You're a billionaire. You can buy trust." Gabriel shook his head. "Not this kind. I learned that the hard way." Silence filled the church, broken only by the soft flicker of candles. After a long pause, Gabriel said, "When I lost my wife, I promised myself I'd never feel that helpless again. So I built walls, high ones. They kept the pain out, but they kept people out too. Including Lily." Aiden's voice softened. "You were just trying to protect her." "And I failed," Gabriel said. "Because love isn't about control. It's about courage. You taught me that." Aiden frowned. "I didn't mean to teach anyone anything." Gabriel smiled faintly. "You did. Without even trying." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I found this in Lily's room," he said, handing it to Aiden. "It was the drawing, the three of them under a heart. She cried herself to sleep after you left," Gabriel said. "She thinks it's her fault. She misses her teacher, her friend, her brother." Aiden's voice cracked. "She called me her brother?" Gabriel nodded. "She meant it." Tears welled in Aiden's eyes. "I didn't want to hurt her. I just thought, maybe I didn't belong." Gabriel's voice broke. "You belong more than anyone I've ever met." Aiden swallowed hard, his walls starting to crumble. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I made my choice," Gabriel said. "And this time, I'm choosing love over pride." He stood, extending a hand. "Come home, Aiden. Please." Aiden stared at the hand for a long moment. His breath trembled. "What if I mess up again?" Gabriel smiled sadly. "Then we'll fix it together." Something in Aiden's chest finally gave way, the fear, the shame, the loneliness. He took the hand. Gabriel pulled him into an embrace, one that spoke every word neither had been able to say. "I'm sorry," Gabriel whispered. "For everything." Aiden's voice was muffled against his coat. "I forgive you." The rain outside softened, as if the sky itself was exhaling. When they returned home, Lily was waiting by the window, her face pressed against the glass. The moment she saw Aiden, she screamed his name and ran down the hallway barefoot, throwing herself into his arms. "You came back," she sobbed. "I'm not going anywhere again," he promised. "Not unless your dad kicks me out." Gabriel chuckled softly behind them. "He'd have to fight both of us first." Lily looked between them, confused but smiling. "Does this mean we're a family again?" Gabriel knelt, meeting her gaze. "Not again, sweetheart. For real this time." That night, laughter returned to the house once more. They made dinner together, burnt half of it, and ended up eating cereal on the floor, giggling like kids. Aiden played the old piano in the corner, badly, and Lily sang off-key beside him. Gabriel leaned against the wall, just watching, his heart full for the first time in years. As the music echoed softly, Gabriel whispered to himself, "Thank you, Isabel, for sending him." Outside, the rain had stopped completely. The stars shone over the Thorne estate, quiet witnesses to a man who finally chose love. Spring arrived slowly that year. The rain faded into sunlight, the gardens bloomed again, and laughter, real unguarded laughter, filled every corner of the Thorne mansion. Gabriel often found himself standing at the edge of the balcony in the mornings, coffee in hand, watching Lily and Aiden chasing each other across the lawn. She was faster, lighter, freer, and Aiden, though taller now, never let her lose. For the first time in a decade, Gabriel didn't feel like he was merely existing. He was living. Lily had started calling Aiden her almost brother. It made everyone smile, though Gabriel could see how much the words meant to Aiden, that tiny word almost holding a universe of hope. But as time passed, it became clear Aiden's world was expanding. He was doing well in school, better than anyone expected. He'd even been offered a scholarship from a top university in another city. When Gabriel heard the news, his chest tightened, pride tangled with fear of losing him. That night, he found Aiden sitting on the back porch, staring at the stars, that same old photo of his mother between his fingers. Gabriel sat beside him. "So big news, huh?" Aiden nodded. "Yeah. It's scary. But I think she'd be proud of me." Gabriel smiled. "She would. I'm proud of you too." Aiden looked down. "I don't want to leave you and Lily." Gabriel took a slow breath. "Then don't think of it as leaving. Think of it as growing roots somewhere new. You'll always have a home here." Aiden's voice trembled. "You really mean that?" "Every word." Gabriel placed a hand on his shoulder. "You changed this house. You changed us. You gave us back something money could never buy." Aiden blinked away tears. "Hope." Gabriel smiled. "Love." The day Aiden left for university was bittersweet. Lily clung to him like she was saying goodbye to a part of herself. "You'll visit, right? You promise?" Aiden knelt and looked her in the eyes. "I'll do more than visit. I'll call every night, and I'll write every week. You can't get rid of me that easily." She giggled through her tears. "You're my brother forever." "Forever," Aiden promised, his voice breaking just a little. Gabriel hugged him last. "Make mistakes. Learn. Love. Just don't forget where home is." Aiden nodded, his eyes full. "I won't." And when he walked out the door, Gabriel didn't feel lost this time. He felt something else, the ache of love stretching its wings. Months passed. Letters came, then calls, then video messages. Aiden's face lit up every screen in the mansion, sharing stories about his classes, the people he met, the dreams he was finally brave enough to chase. Lily would always sit beside her father, grinning ear to ear. "He's gonna be famous one day, Daddy." Gabriel would smile softly. "He already is, to us." One evening, nearly a year later, Gabriel stood in the garden, watching the sunset. The marble archway, the very spot where he'd first found them laughing together, glowed golden in the light. He remembered that day like it was yesterday, the laughter, the shock, the moment he realized his entire life was about to change. A soft voice broke his thoughts. "Hey, stranger." He turned, and there was Aiden, taller, older, with confidence shining in his eyes. Gabriel's face broke into a grin. "You didn't tell me you were coming." Aiden shrugged. "Surprise. I wanted to see the old man myself." Gabriel chuckled, pulling him into a hug. "You have no idea how good it is to see you." Lily came running seconds later, her voice cutting through the air like music. "Aiden." He spun her around as she laughed uncontrollably. "Told you I'd come back." That night, they ate dinner together, the three of them, like old times. Lily insisted Aiden tell them every story from college, every embarrassing moment, every success. He talked about helping tutor other students, starting a small volunteer group for kids who couldn't afford books. Gabriel couldn't help smiling. "Still teaching, huh?" Aiden shrugged. "Guess it's just who I am." Gabriel raised his glass. "To who you are, and to second chances." They clinked glasses, water, juice, and wine, and the moment shimmered with quiet grace. Later, after Lily fell asleep, Aiden and Gabriel walked outside under the starlit sky. The air was cool and full of spring scents, jasmine, dew, and renewal. Aiden looked up at the mansion windows glowing warm in the night. "You ever think about how weird it is? How all this started?" Gabriel smiled softly. "Every day. I still see it sometimes, that moment under the archway. You sitting there with her, laughing like you'd known each other forever." Aiden chuckled. "She taught me how to smile again." "And you taught her how to live again," Gabriel said. "And maybe, you taught me how to love again." Aiden looked down, emotion thick in his throat. "You did that yourself, sir." Gabriel placed a hand on his shoulder. Then maybe we did it together. The next morning, Aiden stood once more beneath the marble archway. Lily had drawn new pictures there, dozens of them, taped along the wall. Stick figures. Smiling suns. Big hearts. And in the center, 3 figures holding hands, surrounded by the words, "Home is where love lives." Aiden smiled, tears gathering in his eyes. Gabriel joined him quietly. "She gets that from her mother," he said. Aiden turned, smiling. And her father. For a long moment, they simply stood there, 2 lives once worlds apart, now bound by something greater than blood. Family. Later that day, as Aiden prepared to head back to school, Lily handed him a small envelope. "Open it later, okay?" He nodded and tucked it into his bag. That night, on the train, he finally opened it. Inside was a drawing, a small version of their marble archway, with 3 words written in Lily's messy handwriting. "You fixed Daddy." Aiden pressed the paper to his chest, whispering through a smile, "No, Lily. He fixed himself." And outside the train window, the sunrise painted the horizon gold, a reminder that love, once found, never really leaves. A year later, the Thorn Foundation officially launched the Isabel Project, a scholarship and mentorship program for homeless youth who wanted to return to school. Its first director, Aiden Cole. During the opening ceremony, Gabriel stood beside him, Lily proudly clutching both their hands. Aiden gave his speech softly but firmly. "Sometimes, the people you help end up saving you instead. I was just a boy with nowhere to go, until someone believed I was worth saving. Now I want every kid out there to know, they are too." Applause thundered. Gabriel's eyes glistened with pride. As the crowd cheered, Lily leaned in and whispered, "Told you he'd be famous." Gabriel smiled. "You were right, sweetheart. You always are." And as the 3 of them stood beneath the banner that read the Isabel Project, building homes of the heart, they knew. The world had changed for good. Love isn't found in grand gestures or wealth. It's found in the small moments that make us human. Who in your life showed you what home really means? Share your story in the comments below. You never know who might need to hear it. Thank you so much for watching this story until the end. I truly hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another beautiful and inspiring story. We've got plenty more waiting for you, so go ahead and click on the next video on your screen now to continue the journey.